agree, there's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, and all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like His power. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a prison wall He can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. I introduced this song a couple weeks ago, and I mentioned it's got me through a lot of stuff. If you guys listen to the radio, you probably hear it all the time. It's probably one of the most overplayed songs around right now, but just really listen to the words, sing the words today, whatever you're facing. Our God has a way to get us through it. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. So as I stand up here and I look out across this room, I see a lot of, don't take this the wrong way, I see a lot of just blank faces. And this morning, I don't think that's because you guys don't care. I think that's because there's so many of you right now going through something, and you don't know how to express it or how to get through it. I don't know what that might be. I don't know who it is you need to go talk to. But God is here right now, and I don't want to get in the way of that. So we're going to sing that chorus again. And if you have something that you're facing, I don't care how stupid you think it is, how way too big you think it is, I don't care what it is, go find your small group leader and just pray about it. Just know that we're here for you guys. Again, I don't know who it is. Maybe it's nobody. I don't know. I can't shake the feeling that there's somebody here that just needs to get something on their chest. We're going to sing that chorus again. And as we do that, just reach out to your small group leaders. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. See it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop, 'cause you are waymaker, miracle. The sun and I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Forsaken, and I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. And I am who you say I am. And I am chosen, not forsaken. And I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. And I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken, and I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me, and I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken, and I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. Father, thank you for this morning and the opportunity to get together and to worship you. God, thank you so much for choosing us. No matter what we do, we can't run too far from you. God, we're just so thankful for that this morning. Thank you for being here with us again. I pray over everyone in this room, whatever they're facing, God, help them just to know that this is a safe place, and that we love them, and we want to help them through that. Be with Dwight as he brings us the message today. As we continue to go through Mark, and help us just to hear from you today, God. In your name we pray. Amen.
Rebecca, I need your mic. Don't leave it. Leave it. Thank you. You're the best. Turn that on. Sweet. All right. Cool. We're going to borrow the mics for a second. Stay. All right. Morning. So the mass exodus of ladies earlier was because we have 2 students going to the waters of baptism today. Yay! That's a big deal. Did she make her way back yet? She hasn't made her way back yet. Ashley Mon was baptized. Was there somebody else? It was Ashley, right? Kaylee Mon. Why did I say Ashley? I'm not sorry. Sorry, Kaylee Mon. And then Bruce. Bruce is going to baptism during 11 o'clock service. So if you want to see Bruce, I'm going to hold him under, watch him flail. It'll be exciting. Your sister gave me extra money to hold you down. So we've been going through Mark. I want to get into it. I'm hyped today because I love Mark. I like what it reveals. Mark was written to the Gentiles in Rome based off of Mark's relationship with Peter. And you're going to see a little bit about that relationship today, some of that friendship, because some of the things are missing because of that. But what I need today, when I read the Bible, people say, oh, it's an old book, and it just doesn't have anything to do with me today, and they're good stories. I like to put myself into people's places, in their shoes, if you will, when I go through Bible stories. How would I react? And so today, we start with Mark at Mark 5. So my hope is you guys are reading through this as we go. So this weekend, you'll read Mark 5 through 8. Not a lot. Takes about 15 minutes if the Bible app's reading to you. Not hard. not hard, super easy, reveals it to you. So my hope is I'll preach the message, and then you'll start reading it and thinking for yourself and understanding who God is, was, and claims to be in your life as well as the lives back then. So I want to get into it today. First, right at the beginning, there's this, in chapter 5, there's Jesus and the demon-possessed man. Some of you, who's heard this story before? And the pigs, there's some pigs that he casts. That's familiar to some of you. All right, for those of you who isn't, I want to put some people in the shoes. So first, I need somebody that lifts weights. And I already know who it is because he's looking away right now. I promise I won't embarrass you, but will you help me for a second? I know he lifts weights. He wants to be a bodybuilder. Dude can flex. How much you bench these days? All right, hold on. Let me get you a mic. There you go. How much you bench these days?
Like 250.
Like, what's your big accomplishment? You squat like 700? Like, what's your, like, I'm really Hulk here?
My squat's like 370.
All right. Anybody beat that? No, you can't. Shut up. Can you? All right. All right. So, but he's working towards it. Oh, look at him. He's challenging. So make sure you speak in the mic. I want to make sure everybody can hear. All right. So there was this dude. So you're helping me out. So just answer honestly if I ask you a question. There was this dude. Actually, let me see if, tell him, he called you weak. So tell you what, I need you to do something for him. Let me hold your mic. Go ahead and break those. Break them. Just anywhere you can, break them. Can't. Okay. So he was right. You're weak. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. So in this story at the very beginning, it says, this man lived in the burial caves and could no longer be restrained even with chains. Whenever he was put in chains and shackles, so not just chains, but also metal shackles, bracelets. As often he snapped the chains from his wrist and smashed the shackles. No one was strong enough to hold him. So you think anybody, what does it take to break these? A saw for you, it would be a saw. So dude was probably pretty strong, right? So he was legit strong. Would you go watch his weightlifting show? Definitely. Okay. All right. So now I need somebody who is a farmer, who has some animals, a lot of animals. Grace, where's Grace? I know, Aislinn, but do you have a lot? Not like 8 dogs. I'm talking like a farm. Like you legit. All right. Can you come up for me? Like not embarrassed? All right. Because this story tells us a little bit more about the story of what's happening there. All right, so tell us about your farm. Like, how many animals do you have?
Over 200.
200 cow. Hold that to your mouth. How many?
Over 200 cows.
200 cows.
Yeah,
all right.
My grandparents own Misty Meadows.
Okay, grandparents own Misty Meadows. There you go. Free ice cream for life. Yo, that's pretty nice. All right, so, and that's obviously your main source of income, right? Like, it's a big deal. If the cows were not to be cows anymore, that would be a big problem for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, all right, glad we got that. All right, so Jesus shows up in this town, and he says, listen, get out of here, demons, out of super strong dude. And they start fighting. Jesus and this super strong dude start fighting, and they're like, listen, send us into the pigs. We'll say cows for this story, okay, because you have cows, okay? He is mentally strong enough. They say, listen, there's a whole bunch of us demons in here. So it's driving him crazy. That's why he can break chains and why he's living in the tombs and he's half naked. Don't get half naked, please. That'd be weird. So he's going crazy. Pig farmers, and they say, listen, we'll get out of this dude and go into this girl's cows. It was pigs in the story, but we'll go in your cows. All right, and let me, the evil man came out of the evil spirits came out of the man and entered we'll say cows for this, but it's pigs. And he entered the herd of not 200, 2,000. So let's say you have 2,000 cows, all right? Cow-I, whatever plurals it is. And they plunged down the steep hill and into the lake, and they drowned. Good day, bad day? Really, really bad day. Why?
You won't make money, and if you don't make money, then you can't for your food, and you can't survive.
Okay. So Jesus did a really nice thing for you, right?
Yes.
Good day, bad day. 2,000 demons have just left you. You're no longer tormented. Life is good, right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, life is good. Life is really bad for you, right? Then those who had seen what happened told others about the demon-possessed man and the pigs. And the crowd began to plead with Jesus, go away and leave us alone. Why do you think the people of town? So people saw it, the pig. You would have gone and run into town and be like, listen, Jesus killed all my cow. Wouldn't you? You'd be like, listen, they're all dead. People came out to see it. Why do you think, and either of you can answer, why do you think that people wanted Jesus to go away? Why would you want Jesus to go away? Just killed all your cow. Why would you want Jesus to go away? He ruined your income. And if he could do that for these two, what else is he going to do to our village? And so they pleaded with Jesus, go away. And so this guy said, listen, I want to follow you. You've done such a big thing for me that I want to follow you. And Jesus tells you, no. But instead, what I want you to do is to go to the towns and tell what I've done for you, who I am. You already gone to the town and told everybody what is happening. My little notes say people would not listen to Jesus for fear he was going to kill more of their livelihood. Who would be the next most influential person to listen about the good news of the Messiah Jesus? They knew him. They knew how broken he was. They knew how crazy he was. They knew how strong he was. And they knew that if Jesus could change him, they could do anything. Now, hold on to that because we're going to talk about it in a second. I'm going to have, actually, you guys can sit down. Thank you. Give him a round of applause. Yay. Great job. Put yourself in the position. So he goes and tells what's called 10 towns, not like the number 10s, like the region was called 10 towns, probably because there was 10 towns in them. But he starts telling of what Jesus has done for him. The farmers already told Jesus and they say, get away. He starts telling what Jesus can do. And we'll see in a second what ends up happening. Let's see. Actually, I need a parent of a small kid. Sam, can you help me out? Sam, give me a... Yeah, give Sam a round of applause. I need a mama bear in the crowd of some small kids. Today, do we like them?
Yes.
Okay, today we like them. Good. All right, so the next story, and then Jesus heals in response to faith. Subtext, woman touches Jesus' coat. All right, so as you read through it, but let's put somebody in his shoes. You are, so let me read this. You love your kids, right?
Yes.
Do anything for them?
Yes.
Jesus is in Greencastle and your kid is dying, but you can't bring your kid to Jesus. Okay. So what do you do? Jesus, you hear, actually, let me see. Then a leader of the local synagogue, whose name was Jairus, but we'll do Jairus arrived. When she saw Jesus, she fell at his feet, pleading fervently with him. My little daughter is dying. So we're talking to Natalie here now. Is dying, she said. Please come and lay your hands on her. Heal her so she can live. So Jesus is in Greencastle. You're at home. You hear Jesus can heal. What do you do?
Drive way faster than the speed limit to get there.
Okay, so you're in a hurry to make sure this happens. Okay, all right. Jesus says yes. Pretty excited?
Very excited.
All right, so Jesus is on his way there, but he sees, let's just say for the sake of the story, again, in this story, there's a woman who was sick for 12 years. She was bleeding for 12 years. She's in agony. She's in pain. She's like, if I can just touch his hem of his clothing, I'll be healed. And she does. And so Jesus stops in Zullinger and is like, who touched me? Who was that I just healed? Happy, sad with Jesus right now. As a mom whose kid is on deathbed's door, and Jesus pauses.
I mean, that's really nice for the lady that's not bleeding, but we have places to be.
Yes, okay. So put yourself in the feet. Yes, you want help for your kid.
Yeah.
Then those who had seen what had happened told the others about the... Oh, whoop, I've skipped. Wrong one. So Jesus is spending more time figuring out who had healed him. You think Jesus needs to get some lead out. While he was still speaking to her, messengers arrived from the home of your house and the leaders of the synagogue, and they told him, your daughter is dead. There is no use troubling Jesus any further. First reaction.
Angry?
All right. Rightfully so. If it was your kid, would you be angry that Jesus could have helped, paused and helped somebody else? Now my kid's dead. All right. So, but then Jesus overheard them and said to Jairus, don't be afraid, just have faith. Second reaction.
In what? She's dead.
Okay, exactly response. Exactly. Next page. Why all the commotion and the weeping? The child is Jesus shows up to your house. Everybody's crying. Rick and Mom, they're all sad. You got friends over, and they're like, where were you? And Jesus says, she's just sleeping.
She would.
She would sleep through her own death. Okay, good.
If you've met Natalie, she would.
Okay, all right. So maybe this is the same girl. We have picked the right person. All right. The crowd laughed at him, but he made them all leave, and he took the girl's father and mother and his three disciples into a room where the girl was laying. Jesus takes in a small group and shows his healing power. Why do you think he kicked the others out that didn't believe or mocked him? Put yourself in the shoes. All these people saying, Jesus, you can't do it.
Well, I've never seen him do something like that either, but I believe so.
Okay.
He didn't come to put on a big show for everybody. He came so that the rest of us that he did do those things for could go out and help him to bring everybody else in.
So you believed he could heal. That's why you drove to Greencastle faster than possible.
Right.
Probably Dad believed because he's probably the one that said go. If you wouldn't drive, he would drive even faster. His disciples believed he could do it, but these people didn't. It's really interesting that the people he kicked out are the ones with unbelief. The ones that don't believe God can do what he says he can do. And then Jesus heals her. Thank you. Give her a round of applause. Natalie's good. Everything's fine. Actually, I'll keep that for a second. Jesus again tells people not to talk about himself. Why? It's not about the miracle, but about what? About the person who can do the miracle. Far too often, people in that Old Testament, as you read through, you'll start seeing people were so worried about the miracle and getting the thing that they wanted that they missed the miracle maker. It was about pointing towards God, not pointing towards the actions he could do. And then let's go to chapter 6. I need one more person. We'll do one more of these things because I had a lot of fun with this, setting this up. I need someone who's aspiring to start a career in the entertainment business, music, YouTube star, but you have to be actively pursuing it. And I can think of somebody right now. I'm looking back at him. I helped him, so he needs to help me for a hot second. Yes, he knows who he is. Tell us a little bit about your future career in the entertainment business. What do you want to be? Oh, is it not on? I'm sorry. There you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to be a rapper on YouTube. Yeah, I got a new song coming out on iTunes soon. And
there you go. See? Look, nothing wrong with a little self-promo. All right, so a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Odds of getting in.
Pretty slim to none.
Slim to none. All right. Doubters.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of them. Okay. When you do big things before you become a hit, like right now, why do you think people hate those who haven't made it yet but are aspiring to make it?
I think people hate because they doubt themselves a lot and they doubt the possibilities, and most of them aren't believers in Christ and what he can do and what he, by spreading his word and everything.
All right, so let me read you a verse. So this first section is called Jesus is rejected by his people, his hometown, his Waynesboro. It's called Nazareth. They scoffed. He's just a carpenter, the son of Mary, and he's brothers of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon. And his sisters live right here among us. They were deeply offended and refused to believe in him. Does that happen in your career?
Yeah.
So you can feel what Jesus is going through right now.
Yeah.
Gospel's really happening in 2020
Yeah.
that it is at the very, very beginning.
Yep. Just as relevant.
How would you make how does that make you feel when your own town doubts you?
Well, there's gonna be people that doubt in everything you do. But you just gotta keep going, and it's like the same thing that happened back then is the same thing that's happening now, and it's not a good feeling, but it makes you work harder.
Jesus said, "A prophet is honored everywhere except for his own hometown and among his relatives and his own family. And because of their unbelief, he couldn't do any miracles among them except for place his hand on a few sick people and heal them. And he was amazed at their unbelief." Sometimes it's pretty amazing that people don't believe in you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, thank you. Give him a round of applause. Jesus felt the same rejection by his own people, but yet he went on and we worship him as the Messiah today. And then he sends out his 12 disciples, two by two. Jesus was telling us in depth about what it would take to become a disciple. In fact, let me read a little section of that. He told them to take nothing for their journey except for a walking stick. No food, no traveler's bag, no money. He allowed them to wear sandals, but not to take a change of clothes. Are you willing? Again, we've talked about it several weeks in a row now. What sacrifices are you willing to make to become a follower of Jesus? Jesus told us straight up, how much are you trusting? And so these guys left with nothing but the clothes on their back and the promise that God was going to work through them to do amazing things for the kingdom. No bag, no clothes, no change of clothes, just your pair of sandals. No even walking stick. Go and do my work. And we're going to get back to that in a second. The good thing about reading the big picture, remember we talked about the big picture. The good thing about reading the big picture, we can always look back and go, I see how that connects. Here's an interesting thing as it connects. We'll get into that. But then the next section gets into, they had to go two by two. Who else went on things and went places two by two? Oh, yeah, Noah's Ark. Oh, the animals. Yeah, really cute. Oh, connection. So, go deeper into that. Get a little closer to the picture. See what connections are there. My hope is when you read it, you start going, I remember a story. And you go deeper. I'm not going to tell you all the answers because Jesus back then didn't tell all the answers. He said, get closer to the painting and figure it out for yourself. And so the next section talks about John dying. And if you really want to know the gruesome details of John's death, it's in there. This is the story that tells how John went from a respected, honored person to put in jail because he told the king, you can't marry your brother's wife, and she was mad at him. So she gets him thrown into jail. And then her daughter does a dance for the king, Herod, for his birthday. Does a dance for the king for his birthday. And listen, Herod was so pleased that he says this, I will give you whatever you ask, up to half of my kingdom. Who's had somebody do something so nice for you that you were like, listen, I'll give you half of what I got. That was awesome. But Herod made that promise. And in gory detail, it goes on to tell that she could have anything up to half of her kingdom. And the thing she chose, girls, for Valentine's Day, if you pick this, you're just weird. She said, I'll take John's head on a plate because my mom's mad at him. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? Color's red. Here you go. So if you want to know the details, John was killed because of a grudge, and Herod had to because he said, listen, I'll give you anything up to half my kingdom. He didn't specify like the do nots. So he had to honor his oath on his birthday. And so there's a ton of cool, gory details. Compare stories. Go back to Matthew and read it, and then read it here and go, wow, there is some differences. There's more context, more details. It goes on. Jesus feeds 5,000. Many of you know this story. Then the apostles return. Here's the interesting. It continues on. The apostles returned, the 2x2s, returned from their ministry tour and told him all about the things that they had done and taught. And Jesus said, let's go off by ourselves to a quiet place and rest a while. He said that because there were so many people coming and going that Jesus and the apostles didn't even have time to eat. They were on a mountaintop. They had done amazing things. They listened, they did, and they wanted to tell Jesus about the things that they had done in his name. And so they got excited, and then they realized they hadn't eaten. And so Jesus does this miracle of feeding the 5,000. It actually gives us a little detail. You're like, who counted? Was there an elder in the back or like an usher that was like 1, 2, 47? And then like Peter goes 18. Do you ever do that when you're a kid? Like somebody's counting, and you're like 42, 43, 62, and it messes them up and they have to start again? Yes? Are you that person? All right, good. So am I. So am I. So this is how they were able to count it. It tells us, so they sat down in groups of 50 or 100. Pretty easy to go. 100, 200, 300, 350, 450. Like, it's easy to count that way. It was easy to count because how they had them seated. I need to study more on this and the importance, but it was definitely easy to count that way. So we learned a little bit more about Jesus feeding the 5,000s. But then it goes, this is the cool one. Jesus walks on water. This is how we know Mark probably had a friendship or a relationship, and it was based off the teachings of Peter. You know that whole story, Jesus walks on water? Like Jesus shows up, he's walking on water. Who does he ask to get out of the boat? Peter. But it's not in this story. It goes, Jesus spoke to them once, don't be afraid, take courage, I am here. And then he climbed into the boat, and the wind stopped, and they were totally amazed, for they still didn't understand the significance of the miracle of the loaves. Their hearts were too, wait a second, where's Peter failing? It's not in this section. If you just read this section, you don't see Peter not trusting God and sinking and doing all that stuff. That's why it gave it a different point of view. Peter was probably teaching. Who mentions all of their embarrassing things? Like when you're telling stories, you tell the big story, but when you do something boneheaded, you kind of leave that part out, right? Okay, yeah, most times, unless you're a youth pastor, then you tell all the good ones because they're hilarious. Peter leaves out that teaching because he's an idiot. No, because he was embarrassed. He was probably embarrassed. So now the disciples have seen in one night. So last week we talked about what's your threshold of God. In one night, they saw Jesus feed 5,000, walk on water, and still they were struggling to believe that he was the Messiah. How thick-headed can they be, and how thick-headed can we be? How many times do we miss God because we chalk it up as to, it's just coincidence. Oh, I got lucky. Instead of God moving us to the places he wants us to go. And then we get into chapter, there's a clicker. I'm going to go a little bit quicker on this one. Jesus talks about purity. Again, he it goes more in depth about hand washing. The Pharisees were like, listen, your disciples don't wash their hands and do their dishes the way we do, so they must not love God. And you're like, really? Like that? And Jesus was like, really? You hypocrites, Isaiah was right when he prophesied for you. For he wrote, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship is a farce, for they teach man-made ideas and as commandments from God. For you ignore God's law and submit to your own traditions. Read deeply into it. Later on, he goes to the crowd, come and hear, all of you listen and try to understand. Is not what goes into your body that defiles you. You are defiled by what comes out of your heart. Jesus is still trying to help them understand that it is not the food we eat that defiles you and makes us unclean, but what goes into our minds. This is an issue for some of us. Through thought, through our eyes, and through our ears, what goes into our minds and then comes back out, because once you fill your head with bad stuff, eventually it pours out. When you fill yourself with good things, what comes out of your heart is good things. And so Jesus is trying to get them to understand that. In fact, he said, by saying this, he declared that every kind of food is acceptable in God's eyes. And then he added, it is what comes from inside that defiles you. From within, out of a person's heart comes evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, wickedness, deceit, lustful desires, envy, slander, pride, and foolishness. All of these vile things come from within. And that is what defiles you. And it goes on, the faith of a Gentile woman. We've heard this story where Jesus says, listen, he ignores her at first, and then she says, listen, even dogs get the scraps from the table. A Gentile wasn't supposed to get the blessings of the Jews. But Jesus didn't come just for the Jews. He came for everybody. And so her daughter was possessed by demons. This is a fun one for your small group. Put yourself in the shoes of the woman whose faith heals her. As a Gentile, as a woman that wasn't close to God, what choices did she have? Why would she seek Jesus if she didn't believe in the good news? So put yourself in her shoes. And then we get back to Jesus heals a deaf man. And Jesus comes back to, this is very interesting. Remember weightlifter, power lifter, super strong dude. Look, he pulled the guns out. Gun show. Jesus heads back to 10 towns. It says it right there in the story of Jesus heals a deaf man. He went up to Sidon before going back to the Sea of Galilee in the region of the 10 towns. This is the same town that told him to go away. This is the same town that an insane amount of kindness to this person, even though it changed this person's life, the insane amount of kindness, he started going out and preaching, and their hearts started to get soft. And so it's really cool because Jesus heals a deaf man, but then in chapter 8, he feeds 4,000. You know who the 4,000 are? The people from 10 towns. The ones that said, go away at first. But when hearing his story, their hearts were softened to the message, to the good news. And so he fed them, and he did another miracle for them. And he heals the woman's daughter, and he heals more people. Sometimes it takes radical kindness that nobody understands at first to dramatically change your environment and the world around you. And so Jesus feeds 4,000 of the 10 towns. The Pharisees again demand a sign. Jesus predicts his death in that story. And Jesus talks about Herod and the feast. And Jesus is trying to desperately get people to understand that he's way bigger than what the world is trying to confine him to. He is the Messiah, and he's offering a vacation by the sea if you were here that week. But we are far too easily pleased. They just want a sign. They want a small miracle. They want this. They want that. When in fact, he's like, I can give you so much more if you'd stop making mud pies in the slums. Do you understand yet? He asked them. And yet they still didn't believe. Then Jesus heals a blind man. Another one to do in small group. It's a fun one to put yourself in their shoes. Peter says that in the next section, Peter's declaration about Jesus. Peter's the first to publicly declare that Jesus is the Messiah. But then the very next day, or the very next thing he does is he tries to stop, when Jesus predicts his death, he tries to stop him from being the Messiah. How often do we do the same thing? And so Jesus goes back to them and he says, listen, if you really want to be my disciples, not only do you not have to take a bag and all those things, but he says this is what your life needs to model. If any of you wants to be my followers, you must give up your own ways and take up the cross and follow me. If you're trying to hang on to your life, you'll lose it, but you give up your life for me, for my sake, and for the sake of the good news, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? If anything's worth more than your soul, is anything worth more than your soul? If anyone is ashamed of me and my message in these adulterous and sinful days, the Son of Man will be ashamed of that person when he returns in his glory, in the glory of the Father and the holy angels. Jesus said we too would need to start doing things that seem like sacrifices to the world, but is really giving God the glory and reward abundantly instead of just thinking and putting God in a box. So as you read these, I hope you start putting yourself in people's feet, in their shoes, and start seeing that God wants desperately to help you realize that Jesus is the Messiah, and to become a follower of her, it's going to take follower of him, it is going to take something radically different in the way you act, in the way you love, in the way you see yourself, in the way you see others, and the way you worship him. With that, Heavenly Father, you're a big God. 4 chapters. There's so much in there, and I pray that students start to see that you are a God that is so big, and that you want to have a relationship with us, and to have that relationship, it comes with a price. You gave us that price on the cross. You paid for us on that cross. And so now we owe you everything. Help us to see that you just want to bless us. You want to give us a vacation by the seas, but we need to stop making mud pies in the slums. We are far too easily appeased. So God, please help students to realize that it's going to take something crazy to show your love through them. God, we ask this in your son's name who modeled it for us. In Jesus' name we pray. All God's people said, all right, see ya.